and it's been happening for a long time. But with globalism, you have this happening on a country level. You have the countries now keeping up with the Joneses, whether it's with the amount of nukes that you have or the technology you're developing or any of the, it's going to start to turn into how much Bitcoin you're holding, probably from a country perspective, rather than what it's been for the last couple thousand years, which is how much gold are you holding. And this keeping up with the Joneses is going to go right along into artificial intelligence. And whether it's just like like the Cold War, you have Russia and the U.S. trying to pump out as many thousands of nukes as to guarantee absolute destruction if the other one fires one off. You're going to have the U.S. and China and whatever other major players develop from the corporate perspective, because that's the other kind of end of this that we haven't really touched on yet. But independent of countries now, you're having corporations. Some of the larger corporations are just as, or even more effective and powerful than maybe all but like the top 10 or 20 countries. But you're going to have these keeping up with the Joneses effects happening now with artificial intelligence. And when I think about AGI, a lot of people, the whole definition of AGI, for anyone that's not really familiar, it's a little bit fuzzy anyway. But a lot of people talk about it like, oh, when artificial general intelligence reaches to the point where it's above a human being and it has the ability to kind of like iterate upon itself through training on its own environment, and can combine these different sources of intelligence into upskilling itself over and over faster than you can kind of imagine. That's the singularity, which eventually happens once you get to AGI, right? But I see the mechanism for that like happening is digital currency. Because when the AGI is like we operate, like I said, in the analog world pretty much, and just like we can put on a pair of fins and go swim in the ocean, we can also put on, put a monitor in front of our face, or put a VR headset on, or put a keyboard in front of our hands, and then go operate in the digital ocean, basically. But just like in the ocean, there's orcas and great whites and giant squid and shit that you can't even imagine swimming around out there. But you can still put some fins on and go like hang out. Human beings are going to get to the point where when we like log on to the computer and get on the internet, it's going to be the same thing as if we like put some fins on and went out into the ocean, except instead of like the orca, there's going to be the AGIs that are crawling around out there, and you won't even know. Like once things go so digital that all you're doing is doing what we're doing right now, and when we're interacting, thousands of miles away, and I'm pretty sure you're human because I've seen you in the flesh before. But, with a lot of the guys I interact with, they're so worried about their digital footprint, they won't even show me their face now. So like in the current like digital, and it's becoming even more like there's these two camps. There's one camp of like, let's dox ourselves. We should have digital identities. Everybody should know who everybody is. Then there's another camp of like, respect my privacy. I don't want you to know who I am. I'm never showing you my face. And if I speak on my mic, I'm going to obfuscate my vocal pattern through some things so that you can't even track that. But going back to like where I see the AGI having a big impact is that it's going to become the shark and the whale and the squid of the online world, and the ability for us to like operate effectively in a digital environment is going to be at the behest or at the like allowance of these things that are natively trained by the entire environment itself. So every piece of the digital world that you interact in is going to eventually be used to train an artificial intelligence. So if you think you have some kind of like edge in any way of understanding anything that you're doing online better than these things, you simply don't understand like what you're doing or what you're involved in. You can see this now in some areas, like for example, trading. If you try to trade like cryptocurrency or you try to trade the stock market, the intelligence behind the high frequency trading and the algorithms and the hedge funds and everything, all the intelligence of the smartest minds on this planet that get paid the most money to put all of their work into making the algorithms that basically, and in the future, the AGIs that control how those environments work, make it so that the average person cannot go in there and has zero edge. Now, like the way that people think they do trading now, especially like in the cryptocurrency space, and I can speak to that a little bit because that's kind of where I work in most of the time. They use like social trends more to do the trading stuff. You know, there's a lot of people that do like trend analysis and look at charts and that type of stuff. It's very hard to be successful with that. But what's easier to do is to use your position in social media and followers, and just kind of manipulate the way that the memes are flowing and get on board on some of these different ideas early enough and then jump off before the thing crashes. That's the way that people trade now. But in the future, all of that is also going to be totally like under the control of intelligences that understand all of the movements that you're making, and then understand all of the millions of movements that everybody's making at the same time, and then can extrapolate like hierarchically where those are all going to go, and then put all the bets of all the money in the right place. And that's where AGI starts taking control over things, because when you give them control of the currency, when you give a computer its own like Bitcoin wallet, and you give a computer its own BitTensor wallet, and you give a computer the ability to like move money around in a way that is going to allow them to take over the digital space through control of the assets that operate there, then we are just like pawns in the game of the AGI, because we're not going to be able to shut off the computer. We're going to continue to go in even if we lose control, because like we said before, the computer is just the digital version of the Dorito.